Hey everybody, it's Dan and Kyle. He's the other guy. We are here from Votacall today to talk about dashboards, real-time dashboards. We had a bunch of people register for this, but I'm only seeing a few folks here, so we will give it just a couple more minutes. I think we start every one of these out that way, and believe me, I understand as somebody who jumps from meeting to meeting on a daily basis. I get the idea of being like, oh, I have another meeting. Let me jump off and jump on the next one. So for all you people who are on time, we are greatly appreciative. My dad used to say, if you're not early, you're late. So I can relate. However, again, going from meeting to meeting, working remote these days, I am
sound like Ricky Bobby. If you're not first, you're last.
Yeah, well, I never thought we would get to a Ricky Bobby reference on these, but we made it. So that's it. I can retire now. This will be the last one of the webinars, folks. We've had a Ricky Bobby reference, and it's all thank you for coming. I am Dan. I am director of our sales engineering, although I've worn many different hats at Votacall over the years. I'm here with Kyle.
Hi, folks. I'm a project manager here at Votacall at onboard brand new customers. I see folks that I've worked with in the past and some new customers, so thank you very much for joining.
He's also in charge of our webinar series and customer retention. So don't let him fool you. He's bashful, but that's about it. So while we're doing all this, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. Let's talk about a couple things. First of all, there's a polls tab down at the bottom, and we'd love for you to click on that at some point during this. We'll nag you about it a few more times, but just let us know what you'd like to hear about in the next one, and what you might want to learn about. We do this series in a lot of ways just to but we do it for our internal team. We do it for you guys who come and you join us on these things. We do it for folks who are thinking about becoming Votacall clients. If you go next great thing to show you is if you click on apps, you'll see a little section called links. So apps and links. And if you go in there, you're going to see a link to the My Votacall portal, which we'll obviously talk about today. The brain of the Votacall system. You'll see something for our training library. You'll see something on our webinars. That's the word that almost came out there that didn't quite make it. You'll see something on support. Never forget that we are a 24/7, 365 support organization first and foremost. As we go through this today, we'll remind you about this as well. If you want to get some dashboards set up, if you have questions about dashboards or basically just about anything, you can either fire a question to us in the questions tab down at the bottom, and we'll reach out to you as soon as it's done, or you can email us at support, and that little link there will get you to Votacall support. There's also a link to our customer love, our Votacall values. Those are two other distinct pages on there. One will just tell you a little bit about who we think we are. And we like to live up to those values of being a support organization. And then the other is customer love, which is customers telling us that we are who we think we are. So that's pretty ironic. And then there's a link to our LinkedIn page. And our COO wants us to tell you to go there and click like or whatever it is, or follow, but smash that like button, as the kids like to say.
Smash that follow.
I managed to get it in there again, so that's great. So we will get started now. I think that covers all the stuff down at the bottom. By the way, if you do fire off a question to us, Kyle and I are the only two people who can see it. So feel free to write whatever you'd like in there. Tell us whatever you want to tell us. Tell us about your experience with dashboards if you're using them, and we'll reference that as we go through this. So we're here to talk about Votacall One real-time dashboards. And so we'll move on, cover what we're learning. So about real-time dashboards, an overview. Real-time dashboards are feature review. We'll talk about a few tips and tricks for these. We'll take a look at a couple dashboards. And then we'll just kind of refresh your memory on resources and training materials. And before I hand this over to Kyle, we'll just cover what are real-time dashboards. So historically, reporting came from something that you'd get emailed to you. You'd go run a report. It'd be a piece of paper. It'd be historical. It talked about what happened already in the past. Well, a real-time dashboard I guess you could reference it as very similar to like a car or a dashboard in your car, right? It'll tell you what's the current condition of my car. Like, do I have good oil pressure? Is my temperature okay? Do I have gas? Am I going to be able to get where I think I'm going? And those are going to be like real-time things, or health checks, for instance. It'll also tell you how fast you're going and how many miles your car has. It'll also show you historical things like how many miles was this trip, right? So on the modern dashboard. So you're going to, and what song you're playing on the radio. It's going to give you a little bit of historical information, a little bit of real-time information, a quick snapshot as to what's going on in your automobile. So fitting that we call it a dashboard, this is going to give you a quick little snapshot as to what's going on with your phone system. So like from a call center perspective or any of those kind of things. So as the marketing team likes to say, gain insight into real-time customer experience. And again, we like to focus on customer experience here at Votacall. And this is just a dashboard will show you, how am I doing customer experience wise? Am I handling phone calls? Am I getting phone calls? Are my agents happy? Are my people happy? And all those good things. So I think that's what we'd like to see here. So Kyle, I'll hand it off to you for benefits of real-time dashboards.
Absolutely. And by the way, as a car guy, I love the dashboard reference there. That was great.
All right. Well, I couldn't. What was I going to do? I already had a Ricky Bobby reference. I had to keep it
going. Right on.
Keep it automotive.
All right. So benefits of real-time dashboards. It gives you visibility to monitor SLAs, manage employee performance, determine staffing needs. And of course, I'm just reading these bullet points right off, but we're going to go and actually show you these. But make decisions quickly based upon real-time data. And employees can measure the performance in real time. So again, they're going to have a dashboard. They're going to have the visibility to all these things. And then we're going to hop in and actually show you how to make these here in just a few moments. So who are real-time dashboards for? Dan, do you want to start with this one?
I can. I think we agreed we'd play a little game here and see who gets the last laugh. So who are real-time dashboards for? I'll go ahead and just jump in and say supervisor.
Oh, well, they're call center agents.
Okay, fair enough. Sales managers.
Service managers.
That's a good one. That's a good one. So I'm going to say whoever manages like the call center in like a doctor's office, that for the schedulers and all those kind of people.
Like an appointment manager.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I guess. I don't know if you called that person an appointment manager, how they would feel about it.
Right.
But that's a fair reference, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's your turn.
Oh, I said appointment manager, but I guess
no. But I already covered that one. It's still your turn.
You did. Let's see. Well, agents can create their own dashboard, so as long as you have access to it, anybody.
Well, that's true. I was thinking C-suite, it's a little bit of cheating, but I know that we're going to look at a report that I have generated that I call a C-suite report. So,
all right, I'm interested. C-suite. Well, I'm interested to learn more about what that is.
Okay.
So who has access to real-time dashboards? So there's different roles. People have different levels of access to the portal. Dan, I think you wanted to kind of take this one as well, right?
Yeah, I think it's important to note, we always talk about the Votacall One solution. Everybody has access to everything, but that doesn't mean you want everybody to be able to access everything. So the Votacall One solution has different roles. And so this is a list of the people, depending on your role within the organization. So like, as we go through this and we start to jump in and we show you the tab that you open to get to dashboards and you don't see it. Well, if you don't see it, then you're probably not one of these folks, right? So you're not a call center supervisor. You're not a call center agent, site manager, office manager. And then so you really don't have access to make your own dashboard or to view, other statistics of other folks within the organization, et cetera. Now, there is a shareable dashboard link, which we'll talk about in a little bit, especially when we start to talk about the C-suite stuff. And it also applies when you talk about putting a dashboard. I think historically dashboards were just, they weren't a personal experience. They were kind of on TVs, on monitors inside of call centers. You walk into the call center and it shows you how many calls are in the queue and all that good stuff. And we can still do that. And that's done with a shareable dashboard link. But these are the roles within Votacall One that allow you to do this. So if you find yourself in a position where you don't see this, or you have questions about it, again, feel free to fire a question off to us, open a ticket at support@votacall.com, by emailing support@votacall.com, or calling us, and we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at what role you have, talk about what role you would need to do what you want to be able to do. So.
All right, so how are we going to create a dashboard? We're going to hop in the portal here, of course, the myvotacall.com portal. We'll do a little tutorial on how to build the dashboard, add cards, and I'm going to now share my screen. I'm going to turn off my camera for performance purposes here.
And again, while Kyle is getting you guys ready and getting you in there, again, don't forget, fully managed solution is Votacall. So at any time for anything, just feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be able to help you with whatever it is that you need. So, there's no additional charges for that. So feel free to use it as a resource.
Absolutely. All right, so here we are at the myvotacall.com portal. I'm currently logged in as an office manager. But if you are one of the roles that we showed on the previous slide, you're going to have this call center tab here. This is going to be where you find your dashboards. So we're going to click on there. And the dashboards, the real-time dashboards, are called Vision Analytics boards. We're going to focus on the real-time aspect of those. So analytic boards pull off of call queues. And most every customer in some aspect is using a call queue, because we also use call queues as traditional ring groups. And that's where the data is being pulled from. So we're going to click on Vision Analytics boards, and by default, there's going to be call center agent boards and supervisor boards, again, based upon your role. But we're going to come over here, hit the hamburger menu, and we're going to create a brand new one. So I'm going to click New Board. I'm going to start by giving it a name. So for this purposes, we're just going to keep it real simple. We'll call it Call Stats. I'm going to select Add a Card. Now I get to choose my type, and there's a few different types. I'm going to create a couple different ones today to give you the visuals of these. We'll start off with a line chart. We'll click Next, and now we're going to select our data in which we want to see. With a line chart, you can only see one stat. So we're going to take a look at perhaps calls handled today. You can break it down by aggregate, agent, or queue. We're going to actually focus on queues today. We're going to select which data. So you can select call queues, or if you have a multi-site business, you can select what site you also want to view. For this training purposes here, we're going to select our customer service queues. We're going to select add. Then you have different types here. You can do rolling, static, or daily. For real-time purposes, we're going to leave it as rolling. And you can select your time range, 24 hours, 48 hours, week, 2 weeks, months, year. We're going to leave this at 24 hours for now to keep it simple. We're going to take a look at alerts and a different stat here in just a moment, but that is a great feature. We'll click Next here, and the style is now where you can make it look fancy and look pretty. You can change the header name. You can change the header type. You can change the font size with dragging the bar. I also like to enable axis label. Again, just gives you the little name here to what the axes are. But once you make it look all pretty, you can click Done, and now you have your one card added here. So let's add another card. We're going to hit the plus sign here. We'll do Choose Type, and this one we'll look at a gauge. We'll click Next. We're going to select our data, and this one perhaps I want to look at abandoned calls. Abandoned calls are pretty important. Again, we're going to select our filter. What are we going to view? We want to see abandoned calls for customer service Q1 and customer service Q2. We'll click Add. And once again, you can change your type. For real-time purposes, we're going to leave it as rolling 24 hours. But this one, I'm going to create an alert for. Once I have more than, let's say, 5 abandoned calls, I want to be alerted. So once we hit 5 abandoned calls, this is then going to turn red. And you can also enable browser notifications. So as soon as you hit 5 abandoned calls, that should be raising red flags. Hey, let's take a look. Why are we having abandoned calls? Are we staffed enough, etc.? So it's going to give you that real-time insight as to what's going on. And again, it'll send you a browser notification if you have that enabled. We're going to click add there. We'll click next. Again, make it look pretty, make it fancy to however you want to see it, and click done. And now we have our abandoned call stat there. Let's add one more. We'll do choose type, and this time we're going to look at a table. Now a table is going to give us a great view into more stats. So we're going to click next here. Once again, we're going to look at, this one, let's look at agents. And we're also going to look at the agents per these two queues here. We'll click done. We'll leave this at rolling 24 hours for that real-time view. Now you can edit the columns. You can see what stats and what analytics you can view. So let's look at average talk time, maybe inbound attempts, inbound answered, and missed calls. We'll click done. We'll click next. And again, you can fancy it up. So we'll click done here. And I'm going to come over here and kind of drag this out so you can see the full view. So you're going to see the different agents here, the different stats, and you're going to have this white right in your real-time view. I'm going to click save. And additionally, you can also edit these. So if you hover over one, you can edit. You can also copy one. So if you have one that's already built, you already styled it up, you can copy it, then change the filters, change the data in there. Additionally, you can also share these. So you can click share board. You can share with specific people. Click the drop down, select who you want to share it with. Again, you can do people based upon their scopes, departments, sites, or specific individuals. You can share with anybody in an organization. And additionally, you can copy this link and share that with folks as well. So we're going to click back here. So now we have our brand new whole main dashboard. Again, once it's saved, you can also click edit to continue editing your dashboard, add to it, and so forth. You hit the hamburger menu and now appears under your boards, and you can also add a new board as well and continue adding new ones if you would like. So that's how we create them. Dan's now going to share his dashboard to show you, actually, he's got a lot going on with his. So I'll stop sharing my screen and let Dan share his.
Okay. Hey, folks. While I go ahead and get this going, I'll turn my camera back on, and then like Kyle, I will turn it off because it is a bit of a resource hog here. But give me one sec. Now, we had a question come in that said, when you share a board, can the person you share it with edit the board for everyone or just their view? So they would be editing it for everyone, depending on which setting that you give them. So you have to kind of make a decision as to whether or not, you want that person, you're going to want to talk to them about it if you're going to do that with them. So hang on one second.
And also keep in mind, if you do the shareable link, if you make changes to that, then the link will no longer work and you have to share a new link as well. Yeah.
So what Kyle's referring to is if I click here and I click share board, so I can share with a group of people. And then John, what he's asking for is allow anyone in your organization to edit. So if you turn that on, if you do anyone in an organization and you turn it on, then they will be able to edit it. If they edit it, it's going to edit yours as well. The public link is right down here. So let's talk a little bit about public links while we're here. I mentioned C-suite. Okay, so when I talk about a C-suite report, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that in a minute, again, historically, you'd get something emailed to you, but when we say C-suite, we're just talking about the C folks at an organization, the vice president and the president and all those sorts of folks. But really, it could be for anybody. If you're sitting there and all of a sudden you hear the phones going absolutely wild and you think to yourself, what is happening right now? You could just click on the link and kind of go look and get a feel for, okay, how many phone calls are we getting right now? Is there like a big blip? If you noticed that there was a whole bunch of tickets that came in, or let's say you worked at a car dealership and you're thinking to yourself like, hey, we did a ton of service. Looked like it was really busy last Wednesday. We had a ton of cars in. I'm getting a bunch of phone calls about it. Well, I can go look at how many phone calls were there last Wednesday, right? And I can do that without having to go and run a report. So I don't need to log into the portal. I don't need to run a report. I don't need to go find the report in my email somewhere because it was emailed to me once a day. I just can go and get a quick look at what's happening, right? So, so to jump out of this page, so here I've got a bunch. This is my demo board that I use, and so I've got a bunch of different styles of board all on one board, right? So I make it a little easy. So at the top, I've got my calls waiting, my demo queue, average wait time of 18 seconds, abandoned calls 2, calls waiting 0. I have a little note, right? So I've got a Dan's demo dashboard. We're hoping you're enjoying the demo. So I hope you're enjoying the webinar as much as, I like to think people enjoy the demos. But you could have a note in there to say, don't forget to mention this. If you are a doctor's office, don't forget to tell people we're booking flu shots starting on this day. Right. So so you can talk about this. Some people put a motivational quote of the day in there, maybe that's for the sales team. Sometimes if you're a sales team that cold calls people, that can be pretty lonely. So maybe you need a motivational quote. You've got how many calls went to voicemail today. And again, these can all be moved around, by the way, if I wanted to edit my dashboard, and you can see that I've kind of made them all kind of fit in different ways and enlarge things and move things over. I've also got information on call queues, and I'm going to present this information in a couple different ways here as we go down through this. So, I just hit F5 apparently and refreshed that. So sorry about that. So here we've got, there's no calls waiting in this queue. So this is a graphical, obviously, or a chart. And then we'll move down to the graphical in a minute. So how many agents are available? What's our current call volume, calls that came in, calls that were handled, calls that were abandoned, assisted, calls offered. How many calls went to voicemail? And again, those can all be, which fields I show in there can be edited in the screens like Kyle was showing you. And again, as we always say, don't forget, we're here. If you have interest in this stuff and you're like, holy cow, there's a lot of information here, just reach out to us. We'll set an appointment. We'll start to build the dashboard. In a week, when you decide maybe you're not seeing everything you wanted to see, we'll jump on there with you again and help you again, until we start to get it right and everybody understands what they're looking at. So you've got your contractor line and tier 1 support. So as I move down here, I'm going to look at, per call volume per queue. And this is showing me hourly, like for the day so far, right? So as soon as noon hits, then it'll show me my statistics between 11 and noon. And that's the way that this particular board works. But this kind of gives me an idea of what's happening today, right? So I had, at this hour, I had 3 calls to support, so 6, 7, 8, and then I can come up and I can see that we're 10. So I know I have got a few more that are going on that have happened in the last hour. Now, the nice thing about this is as I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, wow, 3 calls, that seems high. Is that high? Is that low? Well, it's low, right? Because I'm looking at the last week's calls now, right? So 3 calls seems like it's pretty average. Sometimes we're below that. We've had a couple spikes in the past. Spikes are interesting in that you can take a look at them and say to yourself, well, is that really a spike? Or, if I had one that was way up compared to everything else, I might want to go look at what happened during that day. And get a feel for something like that. So I've got call volume per queue. And then here I've got a 30-day. By the way, I should have changed this to say 30-day and this one here to say 1 week. And I apologize for not labeling those better. But so now I can kind of get a feel for, okay, average, we're running anywhere between, it looks like about 19 calls. Maybe this one is 18 here in support, and at a high, we've got 29, right? So we've got a fairly evenly keeled thing. Again, I'm looking for spikes, abnormalities to the data, and if I see those, then I know. But if I figure that out, and then I can look at my daily totals and get a feel for, okay, so, there's nothing really out of the ordinary. So there's no real event for me that I'm reporting on right now as I take a look at this. So it looks like fairly smooth sailing to me. Like if I'm in the C-suite and I want to take a look at what's happening, right? This seems pretty normal. Again, I only have those 2 queues in there. So as we go through now, down here, just as another view, I've got an agent view, right? So is the person available, not available? How many outbound attempts today, inbound attempts today, outbound talk time, outbound. So this is more of a sales one, right? So like that you might use in an environment like that, where it's just showing you inbound and outbound calls. It's not really focused on a call queue at all. It's just focused on people, individuals. Okay. And then as we go down, I can see here's my agents and who's on the phone, who's available, who's on a call, and then who's on offline completely. So like Eric's line 2 is offline, Alex is offline. Well, that makes sense because Alex usually comes in or around 11, and I did see somewhere that he was delayed today. So we'll expect Alex to turn green in a little while and be ready to take a call and probably pop up here with Scott and turn red at some point. Now we can also, inside of our dashboards, we can populate other information. So down here, it's a little hard to read, but it's an iframe, right? So if I hit edit here, it's actually going to ask me, okay, what's the URL of my iframe? Okay, so interesting thing here is if I had a ticket system, let's say, and I wanted to see my tickets that were coming in and out today. So maybe I'm a call center manager and I want to see how many emails are coming in or tickets are coming in. Again, if that's information that can be iframed, I can iframe that right into this dashboard. So that's a nice feature of the dashboard themselves. But again, I think the idea here is that this just has an address. And that address can be saved as a favorite inside your browser. And then at any time, you can just click on that address and you can go ahead and bring yourself right to the dashboard. So you don't need to log in. You don't need to go through the whole process, but it gives you, some information on what's happening within your organization at any one time. And a lot of it real time, like who's on the phone, who's not on the phone, and calls moving through. And then we can also put some historical data in there to tell you what's happening over the last, a bit of time. So in my case, I've got, today, 7 days and 30 days, right? I could make that 60 days if I wanted to. So those are all things, that a dashboard can present to you. And again, I find it very interesting and very useful. Now, if you wanted to put one up on a TV, what you would do is you would make your computer that has the TV screen attached to it. You could take your computer and say, okay, when the computer turns on, have it open a browser, have the browser's default homepage be the link to the dashboard. And so the minute you fire up that computer, power goes out, computer comes back on, let's say, or you fire up the computer, it immediately is going to, because it's got in its startup menu, open Google Chrome. Google Chrome has as its homepage the link address of the dashboard. So the minute you turn up that computer, boom, it's right there for you. And that's how we can do like on-site dashboards. Now, again, as a call center supervisor, you can have your own dashboard that you run right on your computer just to give you a view. If you, again, the uses go on and on and on. And I think that brings us to kind of the next slide in our presentation here. So I will actually stop sharing and do that. And so customer success stories so I would, we have lots of different folks who are using dashboards. We have some people who, again, are running like an HVAC company that have dashboards up inside their call center. And so that they're going ahead and they're doing that. Any sort of call center environment is going to be where you're going to see a dashboard. It's going to be the most prevalent. But we do have folks who are using our dashboards for reporting. So rather than have a report that needs to be emailed every day that may or may not show everything that you want it to show all in one place, you can customize the dashboard to show exactly what you're looking for, and then have that information available to you right away. So we have some folks doing that as well. Kyle, you have one or two I think that you had thought about?
Oh, absolutely. Yep. I've helped several customers with dashboards, IT companies with help desks, even a little pizza shop wanted some dashboards too, and they could make a note with today's specials, things like that as well. So it comes in all shapes and forms for, different aspects and, different types of companies as well. But we're working dashboards at least a couple times a month at least, or myself personally. I'm sure everybody else is working probably more than that. So, and like Dan said, it's a great way to view your stats right away, call center stats, the metrics, analytics. It's a very powerful tool.
Yeah, I think the only thing when we talk about tips and tricks to keep in mind is, again, I think if you are using the public link, so two tricks, right? One is that the minute I hit refresh here, the old link breaks, right? So you need to generate a new one. And then the other choice is that when I make changes to the board, I'm going to want to generate a new link. Okay, so you're going to want to make sure that you do that. But again, I think the publicly shared links are pretty are really good. Where it says what's the difference between a public shared link and anyone in your organization, the difference would be there that anyone in your organization, they would have to be logged into the portal to access this. The public shared link skips the logging into the portal. So that's a little trick for you guys as well.
Awesome.
Okay. Any questions for us, folks out there? Okay.
Don't hesitate to reach out if questions come after the fact as well.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I hope this one's been helpful. Here's a list of resources. Again, you can get to these in the apps section under links as well. If you don't feel like copying those down and writing them, this will be available for you guys to watch if you were here today, or if you signed up. And for all you folks who didn't make it, who signed up, hello. You guys can watch this because you're going to get an email in a few minutes with a link to watch it again. Can't thank you guys enough for coming to these. I hope you found this one helpful. Hopefully you guys logged into polls again, and that's it from our end. So thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you, and have a great day.